The NORAD command center breathes in mechanical rhythm. Cooling systems cycling every 90 seconds. Radar sweeps painting green phosphor trails across 47 monitoring stations. I've counted those sweeps for 6 hours straight. Night watch protocol. General Thorne. That's me, though the rank feels heavier at 0347 hours when the mountain's weight presses down through reinforced concrete and classified steel. The priority channel crackles alive. Authentication codes scroll across my terminal in rapid sequence. Presidential seal materializes, digital watermark, biometric verification, clearance level Echo 7. Higher than anything I've processed in 37 years of service. The directive unfolds in sanitized government language. Executive order, classified Echo 7. Effective immediately. All coastal defensive systems transition to standby mode. Duration indefinite. Compliance mandatory. No exceptions. Time stamp, 23:47 and 33 seconds Eastern Standard Time. President's digital signature. Everything authentic. Everything wrong. My fingers find the Joint Defense Manual, spine worn smooth by decades of consultation. Page 127, Section 12A, highlighted in regulation yellow. Coastal defensive systems remain active during threat assessment until stand-down authorized through Joint Command Verification protocols. Joint Command Verification. SEC-DEF, Joint Chiefs, NORAD Command. Not solo presidential directive. Never solo executive order. The attaché from Washington shifts in his corner chair. Arrived yesterday on a transport I wasn't briefed about, carrying credentials that opened every door in Cheyenne Mountain. Pale complexion suggests desk work, but his eyes track every console, every operator, every classified display with practiced efficiency. His briefcase, leather, government issue, locked with biometric seals, hasn't left his grip since arrival. Problem, General? His voice carries DC precision. No regional accent. No personality markers. Standard bureaucratic modulation. Standing orders require verification protocols for defensive stand-downs. I tap the manual's worn cover. 37 years, same procedure. He leans forward. Expensive suit, unremarkable face, forgettable except for those tracking eyes. This directive originates from levels you don't question, General. Compliance is mandatory. The radar operator, Lieutenant Rodriguez, 12 years monitoring Pacific approaches, turns from her station. Sir, those contacts from 22:30 hours. Trajectory analysis suggests irregular patterns, sir. My chest tightens. Those blips. Classified as unknown maritime during shift briefing, standard designation when contacts don't match commercial shipping lanes. But Rodriguez knows her electromagnetic signatures. 12 years distinguishing fishing vessels from submarine periscopes, cargo freighters from launch platforms. Current status? My voice maintains command authority, but doubt seeps through professional composure. Contacts submerged after initial detection. Standard submarine behavior, dive to avoid surface radar. She checks her display, fingers dancing across tracking controls. If those were ballistic platforms conducting launch preparation. Sir, time to target would be approximately 15 minutes from submarine launch confirmation. The cooling systems cycle again. 90 seconds, precisely measured. Background hum constant except for that barely perceptible shift, higher frequency stressed components. Or maybe stressed general hearing mechanical systems reflect internal tension. The attaché's briefcase clicks, metal latches engaging, not opening. Security reflex. Whatever documents rest inside require protection, even in America's most secure command facility. The directive was clear, he states. No inflection, no emotion. Perfect bureaucratic delivery. All systems to standby mode. But the radiation monitoring system, mounted beside radar station 7 registers 0.34 milliroentgens per hour, normal background level for deep underground facilities. Except normal was 0.29 yesterday. 0.05 increase. Microscopic variance. Meaningless to untrained personnel. Not meaningless to someone who's monitored nuclear defense systems since 1987, when background radiation meant the difference between reactor leak and enemy action. Sir? Rodriguez waits for orders, her hand positioned over defensive grid activation protocols. Coastal population centers, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, Los Angeles, trust that detection systems and interceptor networks protect against submarine-launched threats. The manual's weight increases against my palm. Standing orders versus executive directive. Protocol versus chain of command. The mountain's mass presses down, 2,000 feet of granite and reinforced concrete unable to shield against the crushing weight of command decisions. Through classified monitoring systems, those submarine contacts remain submerged. Whatever their mission, whatever they're preparing to launch, the attaché watches, waits, his briefcase containing authorization that supersedes 37 years of defensive doctrine. The cooling systems cycle, 90 seconds, precisely timed. Background radiation, 0.35 milliroentgens per hour. Still climbing. Standard procedure demands voice confirmation for defensive stand-downs. Not digital signatures, not executive seals. Human voices speaking authentication codes through secure channels. Fail-safe against compromised communications, forged documents, enemy infiltration. I initiate Protocol 7 Alpha, direct voice link to White House Situation Room. The encrypted channel opens with familiar electronic handshake, carrier tone, authentication ping, secure connection established. Then nothing. Static hiss where the duty officer's voice should confirm presidential order. Situation Room. This is NORAD command requesting voice confirmation Echo 7 directive. My words disappear into electromagnetic snow. The secure channel indicator glows green. Connection active, encryption functional, but human contact severed. Pentagon direct line, same result. SECDEF emergency channel returns busy signal. Impossible during threat assessment protocols. Even backup frequencies through strategic command yield nothing but process silence, as if someone severed every communication link between Cheyenne Mountain and Washington Command Authority. The attaché observes from his corner position. His fingers drum against the briefcase's leather surface, rapid pattern, nervous energy contradicting bureaucratic composure. 5 taps, pause, 3 taps, pause. Morse code rhythm, but scrambled. Professional tells bleeding through careful facade. Communication difficulties? No surprise in his voice. Expected outcome. All command verification channels are down. Technical assessment delivered with growing suspicion. Simultaneous failure across multiple secure networks suggests coordinated interference. Lieutenant Rodriguez approaches carrying radar analysis printouts. Sir, those submarine contacts from 2230 hours. I've run trajectory calculations through the threat assessment computer. She hesitates, checking her mathematics twice. Military precision demands accuracy, especially when calculations determine civilian survival rates. Findings, Lieutenant? Contact signatures match Soviet-era Akula-class submarines equipped with modern launch systems. Trajectory analysis indicates submarine-launched ballistic missile capability targeting West Coast population centers. Her voice maintains professional steadiness, but hands tremble against the printout edges. Estimated time to target from confirmed launch position, 14 minutes, 37 seconds. The mathematics don't accommodate doubt. Physics govern missile trajectories with absolute precision: launch angle, propellant burn time, gravitational compensation, target coordinates. Rodriguez understands those calculations better than anyone in the facility. 12 years tracking threats through electromagnetic signatures and mathematical predictions. Current submarine status? Still submerged. Radio silence maintained. Classic pre-launch positioning, deep enough to avoid surface detection, shallow enough for rapid missile deployment. She checks her console readings again. Sir, background radiation monitors register consistent increase since 2330 hours. 0.42 milliroentgens per hour and climbing. Radiation levels that suggest nuclear material in proximity. Submarine reactors produce distinctive electromagnetic signatures, but elevated background readings indicate something additional. Warheads. Multiple nuclear devices within detection range. The cooling systems complete another cycle. 90 seconds. But the frequency has shifted, mechanical stress creating harmonic variations. Underground facilities respond to external pressure changes. Barometric disturbance from submarine movement, electromagnetic interference from nuclear material, seismic tremors from coordinated military positioning. General, the attaché's voice carries new authority. The directive requires immediate compliance. All coastal defensive systems to standby mode. No exceptions. His briefcase clicks again, different sound, deliberate engagement. Not security reflex. Preparation for document removal. Standing orders demand joint command verification for defensive grid stand down. I tap the manual's weathered cover. Regulation 12A, Section 127. Written in response to Pearl Harbor analysis, never again will single-point failure compromise national defense. This directive supersedes standing orders. The attaché's fingers work the briefcase locks with practiced efficiency. Biometric scanners engage, mechanical latches disengage. Classification level Echo 7 grants presidential authority over all defensive protocols. But Echo 7 clearance requires Congressional Oversight Committee notification, Joint Chiefs briefing, SECDEF authorization through parallel channels. The executive branch cannot unilaterally disable America's shield without institutional checks preventing exactly this scenario. Unless those institutional safeguards have been compromised. Rodriguez remains at her station, hand positioned over defensive grid activation controls. Sir, regulations require voice confirmation from command authority before implementing defensive stand-down during active threat assessment. Without SECDEF authorization, I cannot comply with executive directive. 12 years of training crystallized into absolute protocol adherence. Rodriguez understands her oath: defend America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Even if domestic enemies carry presidential seals and bureaucratic authority. The attaché withdraws additional documents from his briefcase. More seals, more signatures, more official authorization that circumvents every safeguard built into defensive command structure. Lieutenant, you have your orders. Sir, I have regulations. Her voice remains steady. Professional military bearing under pressure that would crack civilian composure. Voice confirmation required before defensive grid modification. Background radiation, 0.46 milliroentgens per hour. The increase accelerates, nuclear material moving closer, or additional sources arriving within detection range. Multiple submarines, multiple weapon systems, coordinated positioning for synchronized attack against undefended coastlines. Communication channels remain severed. Command verification impossible. Threat assessment indicating imminent launch. Defensive systems capable of intercepting incoming missiles, if activated within optimal engagement windows. The attaché closes his briefcase. General, compliance is mandatory. The directive was clear. But clarity doesn't eliminate doubt. Presidential authority doesn't override physics. Official documentation doesn't change radiation readings or submarine positions or missile trajectories that will impact civilian population centers in 13 minutes, 42 seconds. The manual's weight increases against my palm. 37 years of service condensed into a single decision. Follow potentially compromised orders or trust professional instincts that scream deception. Rodriguez waits. Her hand remains positioned over activation controls that could save millions of lives, or could violate direct presidential orders from legitimate command authority exercising constitutional power during national crisis. The cooling systems cycle again. Mechanical precision measuring time that civilian populations don't know they're losing. Partial stand down. The words leave my mouth like a compromise bleeding through command authority. Maintain 60% defensive grid capacity. Eastern seaboard systems remain fully active. Rodriguez's hand freezes above her console. Sir, regulations specify. I know what they specify, Lieutenant. But she's correct. Defense Manual Section 12A allows no middle ground during active threat assessment. Full defensive activation or complete stand down. No graduated responses. No split the difference protocols designed to satisfy conscience while following orders. The mathematics remain absolute. Submarine contacts positioned for optimal strike coverage against West Coast targets. Partial defensive capability reduces intercept probability from 94% to 62%. Acceptable margins during peacetime exercises. Civilian death sentences during actual attack scenarios. General, the directive was explicit. The attaché's voice carries new edge, not bureaucratic patience, but barely controlled urgency. All coastal defensive systems. Complete stand down. His briefcase reveals additional documentation. More presidential seals, more classification stamps, more authorization that bypasses every institutional safeguard preventing this exact situation. Constitutional authority exercised through channels that circumvent congressional oversight, Joint Chiefs notification, SECDEF parallel confirmation. Sir, I need voice confirmation from the President himself. Rodriguez's professional bearing cracks slightly. Not fear, but moral weight pressing against military discipline. Standing orders require dual authority verification for defensive grid modification during threat conditions. 12 years of training crystallized into protocol adherence that won't bend under pressure. Rodriguez understands her oath better than bureaucratic convenience allows. Defend America against all enemies, including domestic enemies carrying official authorization. The attaché extracts a sealed envelope from his briefcase's inner compartment. Different paper stock, different embossing, different weight that suggests documents prepared separately from the original directive. Emergency protocols. Contingency authorization. Lieutenant, this supersedes your standing orders. The envelope's contents remain hidden, but his confidence suggests federal authority that eliminates individual discretion. Compliance is mandatory under National Defense Emergency Act provisions. Rodriguez doesn't waver. Sir, the Constitution doesn't authorize suspension of command verification protocols without congressional declaration of martial law. I cannot modify defensive systems without proper authentication through established channels. Background radiation, 0.48 milliroentgens per hour. The increase suggests additional nuclear material within detection range. More submarines, more weapons, coordinated positioning for maximum coverage against undefended targets. Multiple launch platforms achieving optimal spacing for synchronized attack. Communication channels remain severed across all networks. SECDEF emergency line, Joint Chiefs direct channel, White House Situation Room. Every verification pathway eliminated through coordinated interference that suggests institutional compromise at levels requiring months of preparation. General. The attaché's voice drops to confidential register. Classification briefings explain the communication difficulties. This directive originates from compartmentalized authority, responding to intelligence you lack security clearance to access. But compartmentalized intelligence doesn't explain radiation signatures. Classified briefings don't change physics governing missile trajectories. Secret authority doesn't alter the fact that Soviet-era submarines carry nuclear weapons positioned for strike against American civilian populations. 12 minutes, 18 seconds remaining. Rodriguez provides tactical update while maintaining position over activation controls. Current defensive grid configuration provides 62% intercept probability against confirmed submarine launch positions. 62%. Mathematics translated into civilian casualties. West Coast population centers absorbing nuclear impact because compromised protocols reduce defensive effectiveness below acceptable thresholds. Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, cities where millions trust that America's shield functions at maximum capacity. The manual's weight increases against my palm. 37 years of service, every decision guided by fundamental principle. Protect American lives through maximum defensive capability. Orders that reduce protection violate core professional responsibility, regardless of official authorization. Sir. Rodriguez's voice carries subtle plea beneath military bearing. Voice confirmation protocols exist for exactly this situation. Command verification prevents compromised authority from disabling national defense during actual attack. The attaché unfolds his additional documentation across the briefing table. Presidential letterhead, congressional notification forms, SECDEF authorization, all stamped, sealed, signed through proper channels. But paperwork prepared in advance. Documents created before tonight's crisis, suggesting foreknowledge of events requiring defensive stand-down. General, you have legitimate orders from constitutional authority. Compliance protects national security through channels you're not cleared to understand. His explanation carries practiced weight, institutional authority exercised through classification levels that eliminate individual judgment. But national security doesn't require disabling defenses during attack. Constitutional authority doesn't override physics. Classified operations don't change the fact that undefended coastlines absorb nuclear weapons while defensive systems remain offline through bureaucratic directive. Rodriguez checks her console readings. Background radiation now at 0.52 milliroentgens per hour. Multiple submarine signatures maintaining pre-launch positioning. Sir, they're waiting for something. Waiting for defensive grid stand-down. Waiting for America's shield to drop. Waiting for orders that eliminate intercept capability during optimal attack windows. The cooling systems cycle with increased frequency, mechanical stress responding to external electromagnetic interference. Underground facilities registering pressure changes from submarine movement, radiation signatures from nuclear weapons, seismic disturbance from coordinated military positioning. 11 minutes, 47 seconds. Time counting down toward impact against undefended population centers. My finger traces the manual's worn spine. Protocol demands voice confirmation. Regulations require dual authority verification. Military discipline prevents single-point failure compromising national defense. But presidential authority carries constitutional weight. Official documentation suggests legitimate executive power. Classification levels indicate intelligence beyond my security clearance. Rodriguez waits, her hand positioned over controls that could save millions of lives, or could violate direct orders from America's commander-in-chief exercising constitutional authority during national crisis. The attaché closes his briefcase. General, the decision is yours. Follow legitimate orders from constitutional authority or face court-martial for insubordination during wartime emergency. 11 minutes, 38 seconds. Soviet submarines positioned for synchronized launch against American cities. Defensive systems capable of intercept, if activated before optimal engagement window closes. Rodriguez maintains her position. Professional bearing under pressure that civilians never experience. Military discipline holding against bureaucratic authority that smells wrong despite official documentation. The background radiation climbs toward 0.55 milliroentgens per hour. Multiple nuclear devices within detection range. Physics doesn't lie about weapon proximity or launch preparation timing. 37 years of service distilled into single choice. Trust official orders or professional instincts screaming deception through every electromagnetic signature, every radiation reading, every communication failure too coordinated for coincidence. The manual's weight settles into my palm like anchor against institutional current threatening to sweep away everything military service represents. Rodriguez waits for final order. America's shield hangs in balance between constitutional authority and defensive responsibility. 11 minutes, 29 seconds remaining. 11 minutes, 29 seconds. The manual drops from my grip, spine hitting console metal with finality that echoes through command center silence. Rodriguez reads my expression before I speak. 37 years of service crystallized into trust for the soldier who refuses to compromise America's defense. Lieutenant, maintain full defensive grid activation. All coastal systems remain online. Her fingers dance across activation controls with practiced precision. Yes, sir. Full defensive capability restored. Intercept probability, 94%. The attaché's briefcase snaps shut with sharp finality. General, you're violating direct presidential orders. This constitutes insubordination during national emergency. Then court-martial me. The words carry weight of every oath sworn, every life protected, every night spent watching America's borders. But I won't watch cities burn because paperwork smells wrong. Rodriguez tracks incoming signatures across her displays. Submarine contacts maintaining pre-launch positioning. Background radiation holding steady at 0.55 milliroentgens per hour. Sir, they're definitely waiting for something. Waiting for shields to drop. Waiting for America to stand naked against nuclear attack. Waiting for orders that never came from legitimate authority. 8 minutes, 43 seconds. The attaché extracts a secure phone from his coat. Not government issue, different encryption signature than standard federal communications equipment. His conversation carries undertones of failure, compromise, exposure. Words like abort sequence and maintain position, filtering through careful modulation. Sir. Rodriguez's voice drops to whisper. Communication channels just restored. All of them. Simultaneously. Pentagon direct line active. White House Situation Room online. Joint Chiefs Emergency Network functional. Every verification pathway suddenly operational after hours of coordinated interference. The secure phone's encryption signature doesn't match federal standards. Military communications use different protocols, different frequencies, different authorization codes than civilian diplomatic channels. Whoever the attaché reports to operates outside legitimate government structure. General Thorne. The Pentagon duty officer's voice crackles through cleared channels. We show defensive grid at full activation. Correct status during current threat assessment. Confirm, Pentagon. Full defensive capability maintained per standing protocols. Sir, we have no record of presidential stand-down directive. Repeat, no executive orders affecting defensive grid status. All systems remain under normal operational authority. The attaché secure phone conversation intensifies, urgent coordination, fallback protocols, asset extraction procedures. His documentation carries authentic seals, genuine signatures, official letterhead. But forged authority using compromised credentials, classified materials obtained through institutional penetration. 7 minutes, 12 seconds. Rodriguez adjusts tracking parameters across submarine contacts. Sir, launch platforms beginning withdrawal. Repeat, hostile contacts changing course away from optimal strike positions. The mathematics shift in real time. Submarine signatures dispersing, nuclear signatures moving beyond effective range, coordinated attack dissolving as defensive grid maintains full capability. Whatever required America's shield to drop, the window just closed. Background radiation decreases incrementally. 0.52 milliroentgens. 0.49, 0.45. Nuclear weapons moving beyond detection threshold as submarine contacts fade into deep water concealment. General, the attaché's voice carries different weight now, not bureaucratic authority, but professional assessment from intelligence operative whose cover story collapsed. You've compromised a classified operation months in preparation. Then classify this. American defensive systems don't stand down during attack. Ever. His secure phone chirps with final transmission. Mission parameters changed. Asset compromise requires extraction. Operation terminated without achieving primary objectives. 6 minutes, 37 seconds. All submarine contacts now beyond effective range. Rodriguez provides tactical update while monitoring detection equipment. Background radiation returning to normal baseline levels. No immediate threats to continental defense perimeter. The attaché approaches with different bearing, not defeated, but calculating next move in extended chess game requiring patience, preparation, institutional access. His forged documentation disappears into briefcase compartments designed for rapid destruction. This conversation never occurred, General. Classification levels beyond your clearance require memory gaps regarding tonight's events. But memory doesn't classify. Experience doesn't compartmentalize. Institutional betrayal leaves traces that official cover stories can't eliminate through bureaucratic authority. Pentagon, this is General Thorne. Request immediate security sweep of NORAD Command Center. Possible compromise of classified communications equipment. Copy, General. Security teams dispatched. Maintain current defensive posture until all clear confirmation. The attaché's secure phone undergoes rapid disassembly. Components scattered, memory chips destroyed, encryption hardware reduced to unidentifiable fragments. Professional tradecraft eliminating evidence of communications outside legitimate government channels. 5 minutes, 48 seconds. Rodriguez maintains tracking protocols despite threat withdrawal. Professional discipline preventing relaxation until formal all-clear authorization. Military bearing under pressure that civilians never experience. Sir, should I log tonight's events in official records? The question carries weight beyond administrative procedure. Official documentation creates institutional memory. Filed reports generate investigation protocols. Written accounts prevent historical revision through classification convenience. Full report, Lieutenant. Include all communication failures, unauthorized personnel, questionable documentation. Let oversight committees decide classification levels. The attaché pauses near exit door. General, you don't understand forces you're opposing. Tonight was reconnaissance. Assessment of defensive capabilities, command authority, institutional loyalty. Larger operations require preliminary intelligence. Then they'll find America's defenses function exactly as designed. Constitutional authority protects this nation through legitimate channels, not through forged orders and compromised communications. For minutes, 21 seconds. Security teams arrive with detection equipment, electronic countermeasures, communication analysis gear, counterintelligence protocols designed to identify institutional penetration. The attaché submits to questioning with professional composure that suggests extensive preparation for compromise scenarios. Rodriguez completes her after-action report while monitoring defensive grid status. Full capability maintained throughout threat assessment. No gaps in coverage. No windows of vulnerability that hostile forces could exploit during coordinated attack. General, Pentagon requests confirmation of current defensive readiness. All systems nominal, Pentagon. American airspace remains fully protected. The secure phone fragments undergo forensic analysis. components suggesting foreign manufacture, encryption protocols not matching federal standards, communication pathways routing through non-aligned intelligence services. Evidence of institutional compromise requiring months of investigation. 3 minutes, 34 seconds. The attaché's final statement carries professional recognition, not threat, but acknowledgement of opponent worthy of extended engagement. Constitutional authority works both ways, General. Legitimate orders and compromised authority often carry identical documentation. Tonight you chose correctly. Next time, the forgeries will improve. Security teams escort him toward detention facilities designed for foreign intelligence operatives. His briefcase undergoes complete analysis, documentation, seals, signatures examined for authenticity markers that separate genuine authority from sophisticated deception. Rodriguez checks background radiation readings. Baseline normal, sir. 0.23 milliroentgens per hour. Whatever nuclear material was positioned offshore, it's gone. 2 minutes, 47 seconds. The cooling systems return to normal operational frequency. Underground facilities registering stable conditions after hours of electromagnetic interference, pressure fluctuation, seismic disturbance from coordinated military positioning designed to test America's defensive resolve. Pentagon, NORAD reports successful defense of continental airspace against hostile reconnaissance. Request elevated security protocols for all coastal defensive installations. Copy, General. Presidential briefing scheduled for 0800 hours. Secretary of Defense requires detailed analysis of tonight's events. 1 minute, 53 seconds. The manual's weight settles familiar against my palm. Institutional anchor against currents that threaten to sweep away everything military service represents. Constitutional authority defended through proper channels. American lives protected through maximum defensive capability. Rodriguez maintains her position over activation controls. Professional bearing that prevented compromise of national defense during sophisticated deception operation. Military discipline holding against bureaucratic pressure that almost disabled America's shield. 57 seconds. Background systems cycle through normal operational parameters. Radar sweeps painting familiar patterns across monitoring displays. Cooling systems maintaining optimal temperature for electronic equipment. Communications networks carrying routine traffic between defensive installations. The command center breathes its familiar rhythm, electronic heartbeat of America's shield functioning exactly as designed. No gaps, no vulnerabilities, no windows of opportunity for hostile forces to exploit during future operations. 38 seconds. Sir. Rodriguez's voice carries quiet pride beneath professional bearing. Defensive grid maintained at full capability throughout threat assessment. No compromise of national security. The classification stamps mean nothing now. Official documentation carries no weight against professional responsibility. Constitutional authority flows through legitimate channels, not through forged orders designed to disable America's defenses during attack. 24 seconds. Pentagon communications maintain steady contact. Joint Chiefs monitoring defensive readiness. White House Situation Room receiving regular updates on continental security status. Legitimate government channels functioning through proper institutional safeguards. 11 seconds. The attaché's secure phone fragments tell their story through forensic analysis, foreign intelligence operation, months of preparation, institutional penetration designed to identify and exploit command authority during crisis scenarios. 7 seconds. Rodriguez completes final systems check. All defensive installations report full operational capability, sir. American airspace secure. 3 seconds. The timer reaches 0, not countdown toward impact, but measurement of time elapsed since threat withdrawal. Nuclear weapons beyond detection range. Submarine contacts dispersed into deep water concealment. Coordinated attack prevented through maintained defensive capability. 2 seconds. Constitutional authority defended. American lives protected. Military oaths honored through proper channels. 1 second. 0. The Geiger counter's familiar rhythm returns. Mechanical heartbeat counting background radiation at normal levels. No residual contamination from nuclear weapons that approached America's coastline before retreating into international waters. But institutional contamination lingers. Foreign intelligence services now possess detailed assessment of command authority, defensive protocols, individual loyalty under bureaucratic pressure. Information that enables future operations requiring more sophisticated deception. The attaché's final words echo through command center silence. Next time, the forgeries will improve. Professional recognition between opponents engaged in extended chess game measured in years, not minutes. Constitutional authority versus institutional compromise. American defensive capability versus foreign intelligence operations designed to identify and exploit systemic vulnerabilities. Rodriguez files her complete report while monitoring routine communications traffic. Official documentation preventing historical revision through classification convenience. Written record of institutional betrayal that oversight committees must investigate through proper channels. The manual's weight remains familiar. 37 years of service distilled into fundamental principle that guided tonight's decision. Protect American lives through maximum defensive capability. Trust professional instincts when official orders compromise national security. Background radiation, 0.23 milliroentgens per hour. Normal baseline levels indicating no residual nuclear contamination from weapons that approached within striking range of American population centers. But some contamination penetrates deeper than radiation detectors measure. Institutional trust corroded by sophisticated deception. Command authority questioned through forged documentation carrying authentic seals, genuine signatures, official letterhead obtained through months of intelligence preparation. The cooling systems cycle with normal frequency, mechanical rhythm of underground facilities maintaining optimal conditions for defensive operations. America's shield functioning exactly as designed through constitutional authority exercised through legitimate channels. Rodriguez maintains her watch position. Professional discipline preventing relaxation until formal relief arrives. Military bearing under pressure that civilians never experience. Individual responsibility for national defense during crisis scenarios that test institutional loyalty against professional judgment. Sir, should we expect additional reconnaissance attempts? The question carries weight beyond immediate security concerns. Foreign intelligence operations require extended preparation, multiple asset placement, institutional penetration at levels suggesting coordinated effort by professional adversaries. Maintain elevated alert status, Lieutenant. Tonight was assessment of defensive capabilities and command authority. Future operations will incorporate lessons learned through sophisticated analysis of our response protocols. The attaché's briefcase contents undergo complete forensic examination, documentation authenticity, seal verification, signature analysis revealing sophisticated forgery techniques requiring access to classified materials, government printing facilities, official stamp mechanisms. Evidence of institutional compromise at levels requiring congressional investigation, counterintelligence review, security protocol revision designed to prevent similar penetration during future crisis scenarios. Pentagon duty officer maintains contact through secured channels. General preliminary analysis suggests foreign intelligence operation of significant sophistication. Months of preparation, multiple asset coordination, institutional access at classified levels. Confirm Pentagon. Request elevated security protocols for all coastal defensive installations. Full counterintelligence review of personnel with access to communication systems, authorization procedures, executive documentation. The command center settles into routine operational rhythm. Electronic systems monitoring continental airspace. Communications networks maintaining contact between defensive installations. Professional military personnel executing constitutional responsibility through proper institutional channels. But institutional memory retains traces of tonight's events. Foreign intelligence assessment of American defensive capabilities, command authority, individual loyalty under bureaucratic pressure designed to compromise national security during coordinated attack scenarios. Rodriguez completes equipment checks while monitoring background radiation levels. Normal baseline readings indicating successful withdrawal of nuclear weapons that approached within detection range of American population centers. All systems nominal, sir. Defensive grid maintaining full operational capability. The manual's familiar weight anchors against institutional current that almost swept away fundamental principles governing military service. Constitutional authority defended through legitimate channels. American lives protected through maximum defensive capability maintained during sophisticated deception operation. Background radiation, 0.23 milliroentgens per hour. Normal levels. Safe levels. levels indicating America's shield functioned exactly as designed when tested by foreign intelligence services, seeking to identify and exploit systemic vulnerabilities. The Geiger counter's mechanical rhythm continues. Electronic heartbeat of detection equipment measuring residual contamination from nuclear weapons that approached American coastline before retreating beyond effective range. Some contamination lingers in institutional memory. Foreign intelligence operations leave traces that classification levels cannot eliminate through bureaucratic convenience. Professional recognition of extended engagement between constitutional authority and sophisticated adversaries. The cooling systems maintain optimal temperature for defensive operations. Underground facilities protecting electronic equipment, communication networks, personnel responsible for continental security through constitutional authority exercised during crisis scenarios. Rodriguez files final documentation while maintaining watch protocols. Professional discipline preventing compromise of national defense through individual responsibility that civilians trust without understanding the weight of decisions made during threat assessment. Sir, background radiation returning to baseline normal. No residual nuclear contamination detected. But some contamination penetrates deeper than technical instruments measure. Institutional trust corroded by months of intelligence preparation, sophisticated forgery, foreign penetration of government channels designed to disable America's defenses during coordinated attack. The attaché's words echo through command center silence. Professional assessment of opponent worthy of extended engagement measured in years of preparation, months of asset placement, minutes of crisis decision-making under bureaucratic pressure. Next time, the forgeries will improve. Constitutional authority versus institutional compromise. American defensive capability versus foreign intelligence operations. Individual loyalty versus sophisticated deception carrying authentic documentation obtained through classified access. The manual remains open to Section 12A, defensive protocols that prevented tonight's compromise of national security through maintained grid capability during threat assessment. Professional judgment anchored against institutional current threatening to sweep away fundamental principles. Rodriguez maintains her position over activation controls. Military discipline that refused bureaucratic pressure, questioned official authority, demanded voice confirmation through proper channels when orders compromised America's shield during attack scenario. Background radiation, 0.23 milliroentgens per hour. Safe, normal, clean. But institutional contamination requires extended decontamination procedures, counterintelligence investigation, security protocol revision, congressional oversight of foreign penetration at classified levels requiring months of professional analysis. The command center breathes its familiar rhythm. America's shield functional. Constitutional authority defended. National security maintained through legitimate channels when tested by sophisticated adversaries seeking to exploit systemic vulnerabilities. The Geiger counter continues its mechanical count. Electronic heartbeat measuring background radiation at levels indicating successful defense of American airspace against foreign reconnaissance operation designed to assess defensive capabilities, command authority, institutional loyalty. Some battles measure in minutes. Others require decades of professional vigilance against adversaries who understand that American strength flows through constitutional channels and who invest years preparing sophisticated operations designed to compromise those channels during crisis scenarios. Tonight, constitutional authority prevailed through proper institutional safeguards. Tomorrow requires continued vigilance against adversaries whose forgeries will indeed improve through lessons learned during tonight's reconnaissance assessment of America's defensive resolve.